Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in New York with this Daniel Penny fella. For those of you who don't know who he is, you know, somebody will say, do you live under a rock? Well, I do live on a rock because there's a lot of things I don't know about, but I have been trying to follow this case. So, Daniel Penny was on a subway, and there was a street performer, Michael Jackson street performer, on the subway who has a history of mental illness. And he was on the list of, you know, potential people that could be dangerous type of thing. I'm not trying to get into details of the case because I really don't know him all that well. The street performer was threatening all the passengers on the subway car, according to Daniel Penny and some, I guess, the passengers. Daniel Penny grabbed the man behind, you know, like from behind, and held him down. And several other people helped hold him down. After the incident was over and he was taken into custody, the man who was causing problems, the man died. The coroner said that he died from choking, or from, you know, being choked, which I just find kind of funny, because how do you die, you know, several minutes, maybe an hour later, I don't know how long, after being choked? Seems to me that if you're going to be choked to death, you'd be choked while you're still being... So later it comes out that he also had fentanyl in his system, that he was high on fentanyl. They arrested Daniel Penny, and they didn't give him any plea deals or anything, so he went to trial, and he was brought up on 2 charges. There was a more serious charge that was going to give him, I think, 15 years, and then a minor charge that was going to give him an additional 4 years if he was convicted on both charges. The first charge they had to decide on first before they could decide on the second charge. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So the jury hung on the first charge, and they had to go back several times and deliberate some more, and they just couldn't come to a conclusion. So normally that would be a mistrial, which would give the prosecutor an opportunity to retry the case. But the prosecutor wanted this guy in jail now. So the prosecutor asked the judge to dismiss the first charge. And even the judge says, is there any precedence for that? I've never heard of that being done, but that's what the judge did. He dismissed the first charge and then told the jury to go deliberate on the second charge. Which again is kind of strange to me, because since you had to find him guilty on the first charge in order to deliberate the second charge, you didn't find him guilty. So they went back in for just a couple hours. You know, they went through the weekend, came back on Monday, deliberated for a couple hours, and found him not guilty of the second charge. You know, involuntary manslaughter, whatever it was, negligent manslaughter, found him not guilty. Well, immediately the media just started celebrating, at least the media I was watching, started celebrating this acquittal. But no sooner did the acquittal come across, the bad news started rolling in for Daniel Penny. So I want to give you a little history of another case that we all should be pretty familiar with. His name was Kyle Rittenhouse and Dwelling. I don't want to say his name because I know that I can get in trouble for saying his name. He went up to Wisconsin during the riots and was defending a parking lot, and this abuser of children in an inappropriate manner went after him. Well, this Kyle guy shot that guy and a couple other people, and running away from the situation, trying to flag down police officers. So Kyle got arrested. He turned himself in, got arrested, 87 days in jail on a $2 million bond. So they did a GoFundMe to raise the $2 million. Now, while he was in jail, the shower was broke. Now, this kid was 17, 18 years old. The shower was broke, so he went 87 days without a shower because he was too afraid to ask to get the shower fixed. And his friend, when he went to pick him up, hugged Kyle and said, "My goodness, you stink." He goes to trial, hires a lawyer, a couple lawyers, goes to trial, and is found not guilty. Which is great. We would all celebrate that. Yes. Way to go. But Kyle's life is over. Kyle ruined his life that night. He wanted to go to college. I don't think, I mean, as of the last time I heard, he can't go to college. They won't accept him. His name is trash, at least by half the country. He was called a white supremacist and all that, and he was trying to sue and nothing. Well, now the family of one of the victims, or maybe the victim, I say victim, the people that were chasing him down, the strange thing is one of the guys that was chasing him down had a gun and trying to shoot at him or something. So he's being sued, so that means he's got to hire another lawyer. So any money he made on his bail, the $2 million, is gone. He's paid lawyers. So he can't go to college. He hides in obscurity. He's afraid to go to his parents' house because he doesn't want people going over to his parents' house. I mean, what kind of life is that? So, back to the Penny trial. No sooner did the acquittal happen, the prosecutor immediately said, well, I think we're going to go after him for second-degree manslaughter and the original charge that was dismissed, you know, the one he wanted to drop. I guess there's two types of dismissals. One is with prejudice and one without prejudice, and I'm not going to try to explain. I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand the difference, but one means you can't be retried and the other one means you can. So I don't know which dismissal it was. I haven't heard, and I did look, but again, you know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand that stuff. He's going to be retried. Of course, the family immediately filed lawsuit papers, immediately. So now he's going to be in court pretty much for the next few years. And he might lose one of these. Being in a lawsuit, you have less to prove to win, you know, so the family has less to prove than the prosecutor did. He won't have a great life. He's 26 years old, so he's just a young guy too. Just out of the Marines. The reason I bring this up is anytime I talk about self-defense or trespassing or firearms, I get those guys thumping their chest. And the thing is, I watch his self-defense channel. I've watched it every day for probably the last 10 years. You read the comment section and everybody is the same way. Everybody wants to kill somebody legally. And they all say, shooting my firearm is going to be the last option. Well, then why do you make it the first option? I talked about trespassing one time, people trespassing on the property. Well, you have a legal right to shoot them if they're trespassing. Well, what planet do you live from? No, you don't. You can't shoot people. It is against the law. The only time you can shoot people is if your life is in threat of death or great bodily harm. That's it. How is trespassing death or great bodily harm? It's not. Now, if somebody comes in your house, you get the, you know, some states give you the castle doctrine, which means you get the benefit of the doubt that your life was in threat of great, or death of great bodily harm. But that's not a guarantee. It's just the benefit of the doubt. If they see that you were negligent or drunk or high, you may not even get that benefit of the doubt. So, you know, everybody spouts off, I got the Second Amendment. Do you realize the Supreme Court has no authority, zero authority to enforce anything they say? The latest landmark Supreme Court decision, I forget the name of it. There was Heller, and then there's one that was very recently. And Hawaii said, Honolulu State, or whatever they said, Waikiki, it doesn't matter, does not have to follow the Supreme Court's decisions. And they are literally just said, no, we're not going to do it. Every state has tried everything they can to manipulate the latest Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court has no decision. So when you say, I have a Second Amendment right to defend myself, no, that's just on paper. You have a little bit of more leeway than a lot of other countries, but not much. They don't want you doing this. And they're going to do everything they can to stop you. If they can't get you in jail, they're going to make you, they're just going to ruin you. They're just going to destroy you. Recently, there was a self-defense shooting. The nearest town to us, 20 miles away. 2 burglars came to the guy's home. He wakes up. One guy runs off. The other guy is coming towards him, according to the homeowner. You know, the homeowner's in his underwear, can't see, the lights are off, and he shoots the second intruder. Although I can't read it in the reports, I don't see anything in the newspaper that says this, but on Facebook, the guy is being absolutely terrorized by his neighbors and the people in the community that he shot the man in the back. Huh. Wonder why. He's probably didn't have his glasses on. You know, think about it. You just got out of bed, no lights on. You grab your gun. The wife's saying, "Hun, get somebody, go do." And so you're panicked, you're scared, and you see a shadow. You know that nobody's supposed to be in the house, and you shoot. Well, of course, the government gave the man the benefit of the doubt with the castle doctrine, but his life is ruined. He won't be able to get a job. I don't know how old he is. He won't be able to buy anything. They are just going to, the public is going to terrorize him. They're going to picket in front of his house, all that stuff. So everybody's first reaction is shoot first, ask questions later, even though they say that shooting is supposed to be the last thing you should do. So it's a hypocritical thing. Nobody really thinks about what they're saying. They just want to shoot somebody. It's quite exciting. Either you're a bad guy that wants to shoot somebody, or you're a good guy that wants to shoot somebody. So what good guys do is wait for an opportunity that a bad guy they can shoot at, I guess. I don't know. Makes no sense to me. So I'm going to tell you how I approach self-defense. First of all, I carry a little 22 handgun. It's a little Ruger. And I don't carry it for self-defense as my primary reason for carrying it. I carry it for the critters around here. You know, when we had the chickens. Now, just so you know, I'm not putting my finger on the trigger. This is just habit I got into. I put my finger behind the trigger. There are several reasons why I carry this. Like I said, for the critters around here. 2, it's really easy to shoot and it's very reliable. I really enjoy this firearm. Another reason is it doesn't have a lot of recoil. It's not very noisy. I mean, can you imagine shooting a gun in a car? Your ears would just pop out of your head. So there's just a lot of benefit. And, you know, people are like, "Oh, they don't have any knockdown power." Well, I'm telling you, why don't you stand in front of it and see if you like it? My objective isn't trying to knock someone down and make them dead. My objective is to get them to stop hurting me. But, you know, you can't convince people that. No, kill first, ask questions later. Well, then you're going to go to jail. It's just that simple. And if you don't go to jail, you're going to spend the rest of your life. I was going to say, I won't say it online. You're going to be ruined, just like that old man in town over, just like Kyle Rittenhouse, and just like this Daniel Penny. So, I have suggested many times to carry pepper spray. This is palm pepper spray. I don't sell it. And to me, even if it was pretty dangerous, I would probably use this. You know, a knife attack, you would actually have the legal right to shoot someone. Death or great bodily harm. A knife can cause death or great bodily harm. But if he was some distance away, I would use this first. That can cause death too, you know, the pepper spray. Actually, it can't, even if you have asthma. It actually opens up the airwaves, makes you breathe better. But it's painful, and you're gonna spend 45 minutes in agony dealing with the pepper spray. So I really feel like that's the first thing I would do. I'm not gonna go into a fist fight, because with the fist fight, there's a chance that you're gonna lose. Pepper spray is just a better option. It's 5% effective. There's like 5% of the population and it doesn't bother. So when you get to that situation, you know, then you got to think of other options. The thing is you probably could be arrested for the pepper spray too. And I think I would rather be arrested for pepper spray, you know, assault versus aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is a felony. Assault, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but you don't spend near as much time in jail. And the lawyer fees and all that probably isn't expensive. And you're probably not going to have your life ruined. It would be pretty bad for a while, but people's got to get out of this mindset that legally killing someone is a good idea. It's not a good idea. Legally killing someone, you're still killing someone. And there are people who frown on that. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you a video where I was working on something. So I hope I can inspire you to really think about your defense. Don't be too aggressive, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.